This is week 1 of the real-time training for CreateSpace and KDP. The only reason we really say CreateSpace anymore, do you know why we say that anymore? I have a thought, but
I mean, you were saying it very heavily in the beginning, and they both apply. I love KDP. Well, I wouldn't say I love it, but it's much easier to use KDP than it is for CreateSpace, at least for me. If you're a writer, I think CreateSpace probably gives you a little more liberties or access to making things look a little bit better how you want them.
really?
You're like, I think when you're actually going in there and like structuring up the chapters and stuff, but KDP for me is I can knock out books way faster because there's only 3 steps and everything is like on that page. I don't have to go and click through each step with a checklist and then check everything off. And CreateSpace was just pain for me.
All right. Well, really the reason I mention it is, because that's what I was talking about before early on. And I want to make sure that when people know, when they hear us talking about KDP, we're not talking about Kindle digital ebooks.
Yes.
We're talking about hard copy, soft cover books. Okay. Hard copy, soft cover books, physical touch them books, not the stuff that's out in online. And so usually people think still that KDP, they only think of the digital. So that's why we're still talking CreateSpace, but I would hope that soon we will kind of drop that a little bit for the purposes of what we're doing here. But this is week 1. We have 4 weeks planned, and we're going to be talking about discovery this week, bundling individual books and partnering. Week 2, we're going to go into creating. So that'll be next week. We're going to be talking about how to create your internal pages, how to create your cover, and then also how to not create any of it and have somebody else do it for you, which is sweet. And then, and if you have kids, that's really helpful. There's a little tip for you. But we'll go beyond your family and what you can do. And then week 3, we're going to talk about submitting and setting up ads, building momentum. And then week 4, we'll do bigger Q&A. Of course, we're going to hit your questions anytime during any of these calls. But troubleshooting, we'll talk about how to know when to let a book idea go that you've already maybe pursued, how to sift through the results that you're getting and repeating. Okay, so that's the scope. And someone had asked, and I know you said it in the chat, but what does KDP stand for? It's a great question. It's Kindle Direct Publishing. And that's where the confusion is.
How do you speak and read the chat?
Sorry. I'm getting better.
That is a skill that I do not have. If I'm speaking, I can't read, or else my brain stops talking. I'd be like,
Well, I saw that there, and I thought
that's definitely what it is.
Those are really good questions. It's a mom skill. Thank you, Christy. Yep, it's a mom skill, but I can't do the multiple things on my screen at one time. That's what's hard. So, anyhow, this is what I can't do. See, I'm getting emails saying I didn't get the link. I can't speak and do that at the same time. Anyway, KDP, it is Kindle Direct Publishing. And I think that that's why there's some confusion, because really when we think of Kindle, we all think of your Kindle, right? The software side. And so, so that's why we are still using CreateSpace in there. But that was a really good question. Thanks for asking that. Okay.
They were asking if someone just signed up for CreateSpace, do they need to also sign up for KDP? If you understand CreateSpace and feel comfortable using CreateSpace, you can continue to use CreateSpace. You will not be able to run ads because only KDP, you have the ability to run ads on soft covers. And the more options that come out, we're seeing that everything is being given to KDP and no longer being given to CreateSpace. And they're actually pulling some features away from CreateSpace. So I am under the belief that CreateSpace is going to eventually be dissipated. Right. I don't know for sure. I don't know if they're just going to keep it because it's going to be very difficult to get all those CreateSpace over to KDP. But that's my feeling. I would strongly suggest signing up for KDP as well. It's not very difficult. I mean, it's almost the same as CreateSpace. You just give them a few information and then sign up for it.
I think it's kdp.amazon.com. We'll get into this a little bit more. It costs nothing to set up an account. It doesn't have to be, it's not linked to your Amazon seller account in any way. So you can use the same login, different login, doesn't matter. Okay, Marcia, good. Just a good housekeeping question. Signed up at the last minute, looking at the sales page. There is a bonus Facebook group and interior pages. Marcia, you might be in there. It is the Creative Publishing Insiders group that's all super focused on basically CreateSpace and KDP. Everything CreateSpace and KDP. All the things we're going to be talking about here, this content will not be put into that group, but that there's other content in there. There are interior page templates in there, some other webinar type things that we've done, other resources. I post in there a weekly inspiration, which we'll talk more about a little bit, and probably next week. Oh, good, that link works. So I will send you the link to that in the chat. Steven can do that?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
To that Facebook group. Give us a little bit of time. Some of you, I know it went out in the thank you email, but if you didn't get that, which some of them, like I said, haven't made it through, just give us a little bit of time to approve you. But yeah, we'll get you in. So today we're talking about discovery. We're looking at individual books, okay, how to know and find individual book ideas, and why would you do that. We're going to be looking at bundling and what that looks like, and then we're going to be looking at partnering, okay? So let's dig in. Except for that. The problem is I hit next and I have another window that it's trying to do. Okay, so we're going to review. We talked about the 3 R's last time, and I think that that's super foundational to what we're talking about today and to all of the whole 4 weeks, right? So let's review that. We'll probably review it a few times. And the 3 R's, it's kind of like the 5-step test in the private label group, if you're a part of that. It's all about front-end validation, right? So the more validation and vetting we can do on the front end, the more success we have on the back end, right? So we're setting ourselves up to have success before we invest any resources, any of our time. If you put any money into it for a designer or anything, before you do any of that, let's at least get an idea if this is a good direction to move in. So we're going to just go over those 3 R's. The 3 R's are, we're going to look at results, we're going to look at rank, and we're going to look at reviews. And was I going to do this part? Just realized.
Yeah, you can start it, and then I'll throw my 2 cents in there as we go through.
Sounds good. And then you drive on the rabbit trail part. Okay, results. So when we're looking at results, we're going to type in a search phrase in Amazon, and we'll do this live so you guys will see this. We're going to type in the search phrase, right? And then we're going to look at what the results are. We're looking for results that have less than 3,000. Less than 3,000 results. However Amazon decides to say that on their page, we want to make sure that the number of results for the search phrase that we're typing in is less than 3,000, okay? Here's an example. We did this in the last webinar. Line a day journal, okay? That's the search phrase. It says 1 of 16 of over 2,000 results. That's under 3,000, believe it or not. But if it was over 3,000, it would say over 3,000 results, all right? So this is a winner as far as the results are concerned, Line a day journal.
Yeah, and Amazon used to show the exact numbers. For whatever reason, they've changed. Just like Jenni keeps saying, it is sand. We're playing in their sandbox. The way they display things are a little different. But as far as how they're displaying things right now, if it says over 3,000, we pass. If it says anything less than that, then we say that it is good or it's worth going after because the competition is lower in those areas.
Yeah, I was just getting caught up in the chat. See, there we go. Sorry. We will talk about the types of books we're talking about in a minute, but I think
I saw that question, but I know you had those in your slide.
So, so
I
this
guess I can
one,
put that later.
Bullet Journal has over 20,000 results. So clearly that doesn't pass. We're looking for under 3,000. And I'll say that over and over again to help ingrain it in you guys. Under 3,000 results. Now next month that might change because Amazon is the sandbox. But right now we're looking at under 3,000 results. That's a really good. What that does is that gives us a gauge for how competitive it is. We don't want it to be too competitive. Okay, so that's helping us with that. And here we always say this too, that get through this process once and you might go, this one, I really, really want to do this book, but it has 10,000 results or 5,000 results. The good news is it doesn't cost you anything to do this. You don't have to wait for an account with KDP like you do with merch. You don't have to be approved. You just sign up, and you don't have to wait to be leveled up to a certain amount of books that you can do. You can do as many books as you want. As far as we know, we haven't caught a limit yet. So, what? You're trying. Yep. It'll take you a while to catch up to Steven. So, and he hasn't hit the ceiling yet on it. So, you can do as many books as you want. It doesn't cost you anything. So, if you want to play with this gauge a little bit, go for it, because it doesn't cost you anything. But I would still go through it at least once so you can get an idea. But the results being less than 3,000 helps us determine that it's not too competitive. So here's another one. Handwriting workbook for adults had only 321 results. So that's even less competitive, which is kind of cool, because remember, we want it to have less than 3,000 results for it to pass the results, the first R. Another example, Journal for Women, Inspirational. This one has over 7,000 results. Now, here's a good example. You might have some really cool content that you want to create a journal for women inspirational. You could look for other key phrases that might pass and be better. If you just really want to go with this, 7,000, go for it and try it. Okay, it's not millions. But again, go through the whole thing once. Results was less than 3,000. Rank is the second R. We're looking for rank. We're looking at the average rank on the page to be less than 1 million. And we use a tool to help us with this so that we don't have to go into each listing, look at the rank, add them all up, and divide by, 16 listings on a page?
Yeah,
so
depending on how set up.
Depends on how big you have your font set too.
No, sometimes Amazon displays the amount of products differently.
That's true. So we're looking at just that first page average results. And we use Jungle Scout, or you can use Seller Labs has Scope, their tool. They're both Chrome extensions, and the Scope tool is free, and it gives you the same data. Basically, it takes each listing that comes on the results page, and it gives you the data straight across. It pulls information from those listings and gives you a snapshot so you can see it all at once, right? And I keep losing my cursor. There we go. Jungle Scout and Scope have along the top, they give you that average. Actually, it might be on the side for Scope. They give you the average sales rank. We want to make sure that number is less than 1 million, okay? Less than 1 million. So results, we want less than 3,000. Average rank, we want less than 1 million, okay? So here, I can't see it because my cursor keeps going away. Here is, this example is instructions for a bad day. There was 962 results. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of small. So this does pass the results test. It does pass the average rank test. We don't know if it passes. Well, we do because we have a little cheater there. But the next one is going to be reviews. But let's keep going here. So this one, Journal for a Lost Loved One, has 2.5 million average rank. The rank is going to tell us how the kind of demand. So we know the lower the rank, usually the quicker it sells, and there's more demand for lower ranked items. So when we get up to over 1 million, yeah, it could sell, and you might be able to get it to move faster with ads, but 1 million is not a hard one to hit. Let's just put it that way. So I would stick underneath that gauge. So again, you could play with it a little bit, but going through, we like to see the average rank being less than 1 million.
Yeah, and a lot of these, I mean, I guess we're calling them rules, but they are guidelines. This is stuff that I've been testing, and I see that if we keep them like this, it's a good place for people to start. As you move forward with this, you'll kind of develop your own rules. But as far as finding the amount of competition, I find that 3,000 is pretty good to go after. And then under 1 million, as far as the first page is concerned, shows me that there's enough demand there to be able to spend my time to launch that book.
Right. Yep. Okay, so results was less than 3,000. Your average rank was less than 1 million. And now we're going to look at reviews, okay? And reviews, if you're in the private label group, this is super easy because it's the same thing we use for reviews. We are looking at how competitive it is. This is just another gauge for that. And we want to look at those first 10 listings that come up on a page when you type in a search to the results page, the first 10 listings. And we want to see that at least 3 or 4 of them have less than 50 reviews. This will tell us it's not too competitive, okay? So here's an example. Now, again, this is Jungle Scout. Scope is free, gives you the same data, lays it out very similar. It's comes up a little bit different, but the data is pretty much the same. And you'll have a reviews column, and you want to look at those first 10 and make sure that there's at least 3 or 4 of them that have less than 50 reviews. So we want to see that it's past the results, that there's less than 3,000. We want to see that there's average sales rank is less than 1 million. And we want to see that in the first 10 listings, there's at least 3 or 4 of those listings with less than 50 reviews. That's it, all right? And we're going to be doing this live for a while. So you guys, by the end of the night, you should have this like ingrained and you'll be dreaming about it tonight, okay? I think that's my only example of that. So, but we'll be doing it live. Okay, so that was review. So we're going to look at individual books, okay? Let me get my notes here. So what are the types of books that we're looking to create? We are not looking to do chapter books. You totally could. You could use the 3 R's even for those types of topics, but we are looking for, okay, this is a chapter type of a book, okay? Can you see all the texts? Maybe not. You know what I'm talking about. We're not looking for that kind. We are looking for, I'm trying to pull up my examples. We are looking for this. Can you see this? Watermark on the page. That's it. We are looking for, this book is, let's see here, find a good page to show you. This is it backwards? No, it's okay. So this is a challenge journal for dads. This is how short the challenge is. And then there's like a little work journaling pages throughout it. It's like 3 paragraphs, if that. We're looking for, this is one that I did. You guys have seen, a lot of you have seen these examples. I did with high school or teens at a co-op. They put together this challenge journal. And this one actually is a little bit wet because this page is, you bring it in, it's your new singing companion. Bring this into the shower with you, okay? So one of them is build a sandcastle on this page. Find your supervillain name, those types of things. The kids did this. We're looking for those types of ideas, things that you don't have to write. Let me see if I have another.
Oh, you want to go to just your screen, Jenny, and run through those examples again and pull off. Some people say they can't see it. So maybe stop screen sharing and just.
Oh, because you couldn't see it. I get it. Yeah, sure. Like, you're seeing my screen. Sorry. Okay. Messy journal. So you guys, can you see this? If you can change it so there's speaker view, and then it makes whoever's talking big. So this is the bigger. This is an 8.5 by 11. This is a matte cover. You get to choose what kind of cover. This was the singing in the shower page. So every page just has a challenge of some sort. This was a journal challenge book for dads. It's got a short, just a couple paragraphs for each challenge, and then there's journaling pages that are blank for the activities. And seriously, this is just a watermark on the pages. Okay, so those are the types of things we're looking for. And I don't know where a cookbook, those types of things. So I'm going to go back to screen share because
you were going to show your daughter's book, and I
don't know where it is. It was on my wall. Do you have it?
Take it back. No, it's in my office.
Okay. Yep, that's right. I should. My Hallie did one for 100 reasons or 101 reasons to give a high five. And each page is just large text of reasons to give a high five, which half of them she got from Stephen. You're sick? All right, high five.
That was from like 4 days straight with no sleep, and then just try to entertain your kids for a little bit.
It inspired a book. So
that's why I thought that was so awesome.
The pages inside can be color. They can be black and white. They can bleed all the way to the edge. They can have a margin. They can be, the cover can be matte. It can be glossy. They look good, okay? And your minimum number of pages is 24. They have a spine on them, and you can put spine on the text. I think you have to have over 100.
Yeah, I wrote that number down and I forgot.
It's over 100 pages. You have to have enough pages for the spine to be justified for them to print on it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's keep moving here, though. So what types of books we're looking to create? We're looking for journals. We're looking for workbooks. We're thinking outside the box, guys. We're looking for anything that requires a log, okay? Some sort of logging time, logging hours, logging, I don't know, going on blank, we'll look at some ideas in a minute. Tracking, anything that's tracking, recipe books, do-it-yourself books, self-help books, quote books, okay? A guide for something. Now, I went through this exercise with these teens last year, about a year and a half ago, and we came up with over 50 ideas, types of books, not even specific book titles, but types of books that were not chapter books, that were these types of things. So I want to ask you guys, what am I missing here? What are some other types of books that we could create where we don't have to write the content? We don't have to write out a story. We don't have to have a lot of text inside of it. What kinds of books can we do? I'm going to give you a minute. Doodle books, yep. The coloring book, yep. And those markets, you could hit doodles. You could get real tight on a niche with that. Coloring books, you can do adult, you can do kids. Lists, very good, Christy. That's awesome. Finish the picture book, yes. Puzzle books, so is that like, are you thinking like an activity book? So you could have like a crossword puzzle or something, photographs. I think you could do that with the color. The color looks really nice. It's pretty vibrant. Have you done any color books?
I have not.
I was really surprised. The quality is really good. A friend of mine wrote a children's book and did it in color. Follow the dots, dot to dot, comic book. Awesome. Yep. Okay, guys, this is great. I'm so excited. Adult coloring books. Yep. Okay. Ooh. Yes. Kids schedules. Okay. I moved my chat down. A planner.
Yes, planners.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Chores. Awesome.
Yes.
Write your own music book. That's a good one. Okay. Now, each one of those kind of have their own niche that you could go for, right? You could do a how-to book, yep, or do-it-yourself kids handwriting books. The floodgates are opening. Learn how to dance salsa. That'd be interesting. That actually is kind of a cool, that's a cool idea.
Is there PLR for pictures for something like that?
I imagine so. I don't know. I haven't really looked. But you know what you could do? Emily says yes.
Hold on.
Okay, here's a thought. This is what I would do with this. And this is just off. This is a little bit advanced. I would actually have a QR code in the book. I would have that point to a website, and I would have videos there that show how you can PLR videos for sure. There's videos that you can get. Okay. So I've done that. So get videos, have 3 videos or 4 that you have for free. And if they want the rest of them, they have to sign up for your email list. You've just gotten your customer off of Amazon in a legal way and onto your own list. Okay.
You're jumping ahead in the schedule, Jenny.
Sorry, that's super advanced. I don't even know if we're covering that, but that type of a thing where you can tie it to a video, or even like you want more pages like this, come to have a QR code, go to this website. You can get more dot to dots for free, have a thing that downloads, but they've got to enter their
email address.
Or I think that you actually have to have it on the page. You can't send them to a page that has the email address. So you could have it on there, but then they could also sign up for more or sign up for something that's related. All right. Mitch says, say again, please.
I think what you just said.
Okay, so taking the idea of we were talking about the salsa dancing one. So if you had that stepped out in a book, at the end of it, having some sort of website or a QR code that links to a website. Okay, so they get the book, they bought it from Amazon. Now they see this, well, gosh, this would be really cool if it was in video. They go to the website that's in the book, and you can have that all over the book. It could be in the front of the book. It could be in the back of the book, not on the front and back, but like in, the first on your title page there. First thing, hey, these are all the steps, but you can just why don't you go to our website? You'll see videos for free. So then they go to your website, they get to see 3 or 4 videos, but to see the rest of them, they have to sign up on your email list. You've then taken them off of Amazon and you have them on your own list and you're harnessing that traffic. Okay. All right. You guys had some great ideas. Awesome. So let's keep going. So who uses the types of books that we're looking to create? We want to know what who's our audience, right? So here's the book ideas that I had written down. You guys had some awesome ideas to add to that. But then who's using these types of books? And these don't go straight across, just so you know. But home crafters, right? Coaches, anybody who's doing some sort of coaching. And this is really important to look at, and we'll come back to this at the end when we talk about partnering, okay? But fitness, people who are doing fitness things. I gotta figure out how to word that. Fitness training.
I think you nailed it.
Fitness things?
Yeah.
Fitness things. Educators, right? They're using workbooks all the time. My mom teaches preschool. I talked about this last night. And actually there are preschool books. Just go to a bookstore and look at the books for kids, the activity books. And there's tons of workbooks for kids. One of them for preschool is literally bold lines that go like this across the page, one that's a circle. And all it is the kids are supposed to cut. They learn how to cut with scissors to follow that line. Some of them are straight lines. That's what the whole book is. Super, super simple. So the educator workbook thing, don't get intimidated by that. Trainers, anybody who does any kind of training, dog training, any kind of training, sport. So sports, I see a little different than fitness. Any kind of self-help, people who are involved in self-help, lots more. Gosh, you guys are still brainstorming over there. How to cook an Amish meal. Awesome.
Yes, I like that.
Okay. Let's move on, and then we'll get to your questions more. We're going to do it over the shoulder and kind of stop where we're at and look at individual books over the shoulder. I need to do a stop the screen share. Open the new one.
Yeah, so if you've been a part of any of the calls before this, where we were promoting and kind of just explaining the 3 R's, we were doing kind of Jenni's method, where she would go to Barnes & Noble. We've kind of been going back and forth on if I'm creative or not, but Jenni thinks much differently than me. In order for me to kind of do any kind of research, I have to have a word, and I almost always start on Amazon. So I want to just show my way of doing things. And then Jenni can always jump in and add things onto it. And actually, part of this has come from you, because as I was doing research, and then you were just like, oh, what happens if you put end or for or any additional word onto it? Amazon suggests so much more than just me typing in, like, say, journal. So when you gave me this idea, I immediately just started searching journal. So if you want to just type in journal and then for, and then we'll see what Amazon auto suggest. Yeah, for men is the first one. Let's click on the very first one. So now I normally start here and then realize that there's way too much competition, and I'm always trying to see that. So if there's too much competition, I'm always trying to immediately niche down. So in that
what
search
did we
bar,
look at?
Oh, just up top it said 9,000.
Yep, I was just going to say, hey, you guys can all see where I live. Okay, so right, so the results is 9,000. It's more than 3,000. We want to see under 3,000.
Yes.
So right, that's what you were just saying.
So I wouldn't even waste time running Jungle Scout, because I know there's just too much competition. I'm not going to be able to be the big fish in a small pond. So I want to either go behind or in front. And normally I try to go in front, because anytime it says journal for men, I know somebody's going to be typing in, like, what type of journal. So if you just go before journal and type in, you're going to have to type in a letter and then delete it for have Amazon suggest something to you.
Okay. Nicole said that she got over 100,000 for that same term.
This is interesting.
That is interesting.
I've noticed Amazon has been changing up the results for everybody. So, I mean, 9,000 or 100,000.
It's still over.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So what did you say? I'm sorry. Oh, nope. She didn't have men in there.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If you just type in journal, yes, you will have a lot of results.
Okay. So what did you suggest I do? So journal for men.
Go in front of journal. Because normally I try to go on the back end, but for I try to get a word after that, and then I try to go, if it's too many results, I try to go in front of the word and then see what else it suggests. So normally you could put a space bar or hit the space bar and it'll suggest, but sometimes Amazon is being
okay,
friendly.
let's back up.
So you have to hit a letter. Oh, sorry.
This is good. Let's just back up for a minute, guys. When you type something into, into Amazon's search bar here, the reason we're doing this, and I know a lot of you are in our in the private label group and know this, but Amazon is suggesting all of these terms not because I'm searched for these things, but because Amazon other buyers, customers are searching for these things, and Amazon saying, oh, I bet they're searching for what all these other people are searching for. I'm going to suggest them. Okay, so this is a super cool, we talked about the 3 R's for validation. This is another layer of validation before we even get to those 3 R's. So this is, instead of going, well, I bet journals for kids would be good. Instead of doing that, we're asking Amazon what kinds of journals are selling. Okay, and just so you know, this is an extra, is it this one? Yeah, I'll put the link in.
I should just have those like saved on my
know.
computer somewhere.
This is free, so I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys if you don't have it already. What it is there's a guy in our group who came up with this expander. So usually Amazon just has that this first
Yes.
column here, but he's added like here the word for, even if I didn't type in for, it expands it. So there's more things that Amazon is suggesting. So we had Journal for Men, wanted to do that. And even here, there's a bunch, but I'm going to follow what you say. So put the cursor in front.
Well, I mean, we can look at those real quick because they are suggesting at the end. But with pen, I know Amazon does not like the book to be the main item. So a lot of those that have it on the back look like they're smaller things and like bundling type things, not necessarily like
right. We're looking for books.
Type of book, yes.
We're looking for individual books right now. We'll get into the bundling and all of that in a minute. But so you want me to? I mean, we could do Journal for Men lined pages. Look at that, over 1,000 results. So we have under 3,000. So it passes the results. What's the next thing? The next one is going to be rank. So we're going to run Jungle Scout, and we're going to make sure we want to see that there's rank. The average rank for that page, all those results is less than 1 million. And I like to play a little game and see, oh yeah, I think that's going to be less than 1 million.
Take your best guess.
We'll see.
I'm saying 400,000.
I don't think so. I think
what
it'll
are
be
you
less.
guessing?
I don't know, but not that. I think it'll be under 100,000.
Yeah, you might be right. A lot of them are under 10. There's normally a few that you don't see that are like.
I know. Then one will pop in and it'll be like, oh man.
Jump the average up.
Boy, that's slow. I'm sorry. I can hear my computer working. There we go. Oh, okay. Well, neither one of us are. But still, that's super cool, right? So the average rank is well under 1 million. And then we have 3 that of the reviews. Remember, we want to make sure that there's at least 3 or 4 reviews in those first 10 that have less than 50, and there's 3. And even this one, like 51, 52, 62. And then just look at these numbers here, guys. Okay, this is revenue, estimated revenue. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything to do these books. Okay? Now you wouldn't, this isn't all revenue because this is what they're selling for. So this doesn't take into account what Amazon takes out of it.
Yeah, they do some weird calculations, and even their guesstimated sales. Jungle Scout is more for private label than it is for books. So those numbers, I mean, I don't trust any tool fully, but
right, but it gives you a good idea. And yes, you're right. These are mostly leather, so that could be boosting up the price point more. But that does not mean that there isn't space here for Journal for Men lined pages for one that's not leather. Okay, there's nothing that says leather in the front in this search phrase, so you can still it looks like there's still space there, and it costs nothing to test it. So you had said we do Journal for Men, put the cursor in front, and then you think hitting the spacebar does it?
Normally it does. Sometimes it doesn't. If you put
hashtag.
Yeah. So I mean, there's. Whoa.
Let me go back to that. Sorry.
No, gratitude. Well, I was just trying to follow it. There's like a slight delay, so I can't.
Okay.
See. But I just wanted to see what the first one, or prayer. We could try prayer. We could try gratitude. We'd have to try travel and just see if any of those pass. So these are not leather, and then a lot of these are just the plain books like Jenni was showing.
Yep. Okay, let's just see. We have 365 results. That's the first R. Okay, we're looking for less than 3,000. Then I'm gonna run Jungle Scout. I'm not sure I understand, Roxana, what your question is. Do these fall under Amazon seller as the? I'm not sure I'm not understanding exactly what you're asking. The average sales rank for that is 706,000, so it's less than 1 million. And look at this. We've got 6 that have well under 50 reviews, and they still look like they're making money. They're still getting sales. So this is a good one. This one passes. I should write this down.
Yeah, I don't want anybody confused by those numbers that Jungle Scout is showing for sales, because Jungle Scout runs an in-house algorithm, and because books ranks change so much, those numbers are very skewed. I mean, sometimes if the book is staying consistent, those numbers are consistent, but because, I mean, anybody that's resold books knows that it could be 1 million one day, it could be 500,000 the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So the numbers are off as far as Jungle Scout predicting book sales. And I think it, yeah, CreateSpace. So this is either CreateSpace or Kindle book, because either one that you make and it is a soft cover, it just shows the publisher as CreateSpace. So this was made inside either CreateSpace or KDP, and you can see this book is selling. It's 110 pages.
Should we look inside? Look how simple this is.
And if anybody has any kind of art background, I can almost guarantee you'll be able to do a lot better covers than a lot of these people.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so look at this. Okay, day, date, today I'm grateful for, and then a quote. And that's it. Then it repeats. Another quote on the next day. And I bet you could have like 15 quotes and just reuse them throughout the book. People don't remember. And it doesn't matter anyway. You're not saying that different quote on each page. Okay, look how simple this is. You can have a VA doing this for you. Okay.
Yeah, and kind of like how we do with merch, there's nothing stopping you from launching a few different ones of these. So even if all the internals are the same and you want a men's gratitude journal, you can change up the covers a little bit to see which one works best.
Interesting is customers who bought this item also bought, did you see that there was a few that was gratitude journal for women, the 1 minute gratitude journal. This looks like a kids one. I am grateful kids gratitude journal. So if you did something where you, what I would do if I was doing this is actually have some sort of branding that was the same across. So you could do the same type of interior pages. Today I am grateful for, and then you have a quote, maybe it's more geared towards kids or geared towards women for those two, but have something on the cover that is kind of brands them so they look like they all go together. So if I've bought one, I might go, oh, I want the set. Okay. These have got to be CreateSpace. Look at that.
Yeah, even if you take time to make the internals of a book, so like what Jenni said, if you find, okay, gratitude journal is really what people are searching for and you want to do research on gratitude journal and just niche down that way, you can make a series of books. So taking the same amount of work that you would have took to make one book, you can immediately turn it into multiple books.
Yep.
That's why I like when you told me this, and then even with me and Dale working together on merch, I was like, the amount of books I can pump out per day and the way that we do research lends itself so perfectly to this method.
Okay. Do you want to keep going or do you want to move on and do bundles?
That is going to be up to the crew, whoever's watching, if they want us to continue to go down. I mean, we can do journals for women, kids, teens, and then just find out what else Amazon is going to suggest. Or what I always like to do is take everybody's already on bundles.
Got this. Okay, now just so you know, guys, you could do this.
I mean, you can type in gratitude journal. You can type in workbook 4.
I would actually do put work when I think of workbook at the end of the title. So I would probably go this route. Workbooks. Oh, workbooks 4. Well, there we go. You could also do this. Let me just show you. Algebra workbook. Somebody could write that. Now, BrainQuest is a brand for sure. But you could go in and just start. Okay, this is awesome. Cursive handwriting workbook. Really, you could do a handwriting workbook where it's just, when you were kids, the lines and the dotted line through the middle. Okay, so super easy. That's workbook. You could also take any of those words, log, and move food log, mileage log, workout log. What is a frog log? Like a real log? A log for a frog? That must be what it is. I'm thinking log.
As in a book.
Yes. I'm
And
thinking
that's kind of like a physical product.
Yeah. It's a frog log. Let's just do this last one and we'll move on to bundles. So a food log, wow, that surprised me. I thought for sure this would be too competitive. So it's under 3,000. Okay, discuss keywords. What can we do? Can you be more specific? The keywords, I don't know if this helps you out. Let's finish this and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So we want to see that the average price or average rank is less than 1 million. This one will probably go, all of these are under 1 million so far. Slow. My goodness. It's going to be low. I mean.
All right, take a guess, Jenny. It was 100-something thousand last time. It's probably about that.
It's going to be probably about 100,000 because this one's going to throw it off.
I'm going to go up a little bit. Ooh.
Okay, 300,000.
Still way under 1 million.
Way under 1 million. And we've got 5 that have less than 50 reviews. They all got some decent revenue in sales. That might be skewed, but we're seeing it across the board. Okay. All right. How to find good search terms or keywords to help our book rank. Okay. So here we've already we don't know what the search volume is with food log, but we do know that people are searching for this because Amazon is suggesting it. So that is your first layer. And then I would use this to start. I would probably use this in my title, right?
If you open back up Jungle Scout, I mean, if they're looking for just other words, I mean, this is a quick tip that I tell a lot of people that I try to help. If you hit that word cloud
at the bottom,
this will help with additional keywords. Now, I mean, I can talk for forever about how to get additional keywords, but for books, we want to quickly validate them and start testing them because you truly don't know, and just with anything, private label or anything, you don't know until you actually test the market. But how to get in KDP, they give you 7 additional slots that you can fill up. And you normally want to do kind of what we're doing right here. If you're finding, I forget the exact keyword term that we used right here.
Food log.
Food log, you're going to find other things that fit similarly to food log. So say food, diary, exercise, diary, those type of words is what you're going to put in your back end. Because unlike private label, where you're trying to pull 400 additional keywords because you have a ton of slots, in KDP, you have very limited space. So when we go into week 3, I believe, or 4, when we're tweaking, that's when we're really going to be showing you how to continuously, I guess, help your book rank and then manipulate
refine it.
Refine.
Yep.
Yeah, manipulate is probably the wrong word to be used.
Okay, so you were saying in the seller column over here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Amazon is as the seller, correct? Yeah.
That would be for the create space, right? So are all of these that say?
Sometimes.
Or they're.
Because they could actually be partnered with Amazon to sell their books like that.
That's true. This doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I would say any create space one is going to say Amazon there, but just because it says Amazon there doesn't mean it's a create space or a KDP book. That's basically. So it really doesn't matter. The FBA ones are people getting books that are already published and sending them in to sell FBA. Okay. All right. Does Scope have a word cloud? I don't think so, but they have a thing where they have the keywords. It just it's displayed a little bit differently. And I think they give your top 5 keywords. Used to be 3, but I think it went to 5.
Oh, they went to 5? Okay. Yeah, I think you have to have the paid version to get additional keywords from Scope.
Yeah, but the free version is a great place to start. Don't invest in tools until you get to a point where it's like, man, I'm so frustrated. I just want to get the paid version. There's no reason to do that until you get to that point where you really understand why you're using it and how to use it.
Yeah, tools are just meant to speed up the process, not necessarily to do the work for you. You want to be able to understand what is actually happening so that when you use the tool, you can pull the information that you need from it.
Okay, when you list on KDP, does it work like merch? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, except for it does in that it's print on demand. So you don't pay anything. Your listing gets put on Amazon, and then when it sells, Amazon takes, so when you create the listing, you say the price, and then they'll say it has to be more than this amount, right? So that implies anything up to that amount is their cost for getting it printed. So when it sells, let's say it costs $3. So you can put your price point anything above that. Let's say you say it's $10. So when it sells, Amazon sends you $7 and they take $3, just like with merch. It's print on demand. So there's no costs involved to get your listing up here, which brings us right into bundles, which is super, super cool. We have 2 different ways to do this. And I just want to, before we dig too much, I want to focus on your method because I think that's really cool. But one thing that's awesome about this, if you can take a food journal and let's say you bundle that with a scale for weighing your food, okay, or some sort of product that has to do with tracking your food, that is a physical product that's not a book. And if you did that and you have your food journal selling on CreateSpace or KDP on Amazon's platform, and let's say your price point is $20 for the food journal to sell by itself, you've validated it with the 3 R's, you've got the book up there, it's cost you nothing at this point, except for you have ordered 5 or 10 of them at author price. Okay, so it's not $20 for you to get them, it's like $4. So or let's say 5, just even though that's high, just for even numbers. So let's say you order 10 of them because you're going to create bundles and send them in with a food scale or something. Okay, so now you have your food log, whatever it is we called it, food log, and a scale you've sent in. You now have a completely unique listing. That food scale could be a wholesale product. It could even be a retail arbitrage product. It could be a private label product. Doesn't matter. You have now created a unique listing. Now, yeah, people could get on your listing, but guess what? They'd have to buy your food log from you at $20 a piece. So they really cannot compete with you on price because you're paying the author price. The other real super cool benefit is that the food log being on Amazon on its own, I bet you people are going to go, well, okay, back up. So let's say it's selling for $20 on Amazon. You've gotten them for $5. You're including them on your listing. Let's say your scale costs $10, but you're selling that for $20 separate. So now your value, $20 for the food scale and $20 for the book, your value, okay, for the customer, their cost ought to be $40. You could sell it for $35. Are you following me here? You could sell it for $35. Everybody else selling a food scale, let's say they're selling it for $20. They see, oh, this book is added, and that's $35. I wonder how much the book is by itself. Oh my gosh, it's $20 by itself. I'm getting a deal, so I'm going to go with this, and it gives credibility to your bundle price, okay? And the benefit is you also sell books on their own. So you could do, if you did a bundle like that, you could have 3 listings. You could have the food scale by itself. You could have the bundle with the food log, and then you also have the food log as a bonus that costs you nothing to get that listing up. Okay? That was, let's see here, my version of bundling in a nutshell. It just really lended itself well to that. I'm going to go back to the slides for a minute. And we'll talk about bundling. I did the wrong one. Hold on. Sure, sorry.
There are some
2 up.
questions about
Okay.
Is it like merch? I mean, a little bit.
Right.
As far as there's very limited space as far as like building the listing. They are 2 different platforms, so you have to treat them differently. As far as the actual work being done, it's very similar, but you just, again, look at it from the perspective of the buyer. So I'm not quite sure the question that you're asking if merch and this is the exact same. Like Jenny said, they are both print on demand.
Right.
They are both similar, but they are different platforms and customers are coming at them differently, if that answers the question.
Okay, but Marcia's saying, do you see, whoops, it scrolled. Do you see as much copying of cover design as there is on copying of merch design?
No. Nobody's doing pixel for pixel. Well, from what I have done, no, I have not seen any of that.
Maybe idea, like general idea, but
Yeah, the amount of hype around merch right now and the amount of people getting into merch and just the ease of doing it, I think everybody is very aggressive on merch. As far
Mhm.
as CreateSpace, I don't see anybody else really doing this. That's why when you start niching down, you go, oh, I wonder for this type of niche, there's really very little competition in there. And then as soon as you start having success, it's not like merch where people find that listing right away and jump on it because they have to create a physical book. And I don't see anybody else teaching it the way that Jenni's teaching it, of how easy it is to do it the way that she's doing it, which is you're not writing the book. You are, even when it tells you to look inside the book, you can draw great inspiration from that and go, oh, I can do that and I can make it look better. Because that's a lot of places that have a lot of success. I'm seeing what they're doing, and then just like that gratitude journal, I can make a better cover. We have an art team that can do much better art than that. We have,
Mhm.
I was going to say VAs. Yeah, VAs.
Mhm.
I don't say valets. VAs that are writers that can make those internal pages look way better. So if someone looks at my book and it's more colorful, the pages pop, and they look inside and they see it looks much better, my
Mhm.
book's going to get bought way over that other person's book.
Mhm. Okay. Have a look at the sales of the Hello New Me book. I'm looking at that now. I'm not sharing that yet, but 618 sales. Yep, that one's high, 5,000. I'm not sure if that was just to the point of that. Sorry, I missed that comment earlier. Okay, brand title description. So you're asking if when you have a search phrase like food log, then or journal for men lined pages, do you have to keep that exact term in their title in order to rank for that category?
No, you can put that in the back end as that. And that's not what Amazon says exactly, but if you watch a lot of they call it metadata
Right.
videos, that's what they're trying to tell you is don't just put one word. Don't just put cat. Put other words that are going to help their algorithm put
Mm-hmm.
your book where you want it. So if we're finding that food log journal, put that in the back end because they give you that space to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to title your book that.
Okay. Is there a limit on how many author price books you can get? I do not think so. They want you to be buying them.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't think there's a limit.
Sometimes when you buy the proofs now from
Yes,
KDP, they have
7.
a stamp on them. So
Oh
those
yeah.
are different than the author copies. They're same price as far as what I remember
I think
currently.
they're more. They might be more. Oh, this one doesn't say proof. That's funny because this was a proof.
Some of them got the stamp and some of them get printed directly on. They've been switching that up quite a bit when I've gotten proofs.
Oh,
So there's like
interesting.
across the board, this is exactly what's going to happen. I don't know if it's different facilities that they have printing them or doing different things. I
Huh.
don't know.
Yeah, this is what I've seen in
Yeah,
the back.
sometimes they get stamped. And then
Right. And
sometimes
so,
like on the cover, it's like printed along with your cover. It says
gotcha.
like proof as
We'll
like a
talk,
wrap
and we'll
around it.
talk more about this next week, guys. There's a lot of great questions that I think will be covered in the future, for sure. Okay. Um, the
Now we're
Amazon
gonna
book, I really
better.
want to get into bundles the way that you're talking about them. What's really been cool with when you're doing the book bundles is people are not expecting the books to sell individually. They're doing it just to be able to create a unique listing. And so that's almost just a bonus that the books are selling too. So it's kind of a 2-for-1, right? How does that go when all the books in the niche are only $8 or so? You need to price it competitively, I think, within the niche, but
I think
still,
Jenny was just talking about the concept. And if
right.
you have a book that's selling and you can vet that that item might be working, you can create the bundle and then change your price of your book to from $8 where it was selling to a little higher to justify the price of
Yep,
the bundle being higher.
exactly.
But that's up to you. If you want to sell more books, you can do that. If you want to sell more of the bundle, you can do that. And you can always change those prices and play around with them to see what works best for you.
Food log. Okay, does 3 listings really help? You know what? It depends. I think it depends on your product. So if you did a food log plus a food scale as the bundle and the food log only, totally you can do just that. But if it makes sense for you to sell the scale by itself as well, why not, right? So if you're doing private label, or sometimes the book that you're giving, if it's a cookbook, you want people to still buy. Well, that's not really a good example. Okay, if it was a cookbook for cupcakes and it's cupcake liners that you're putting with that, those are disposable. So you maybe want people to come back and buy more cupcake liners from you, but you don't want them they're not going to want to buy the book every time, right? So it kind of just depends on the circumstance.
Product, yeah.
Okay. I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but I want to make sure we're answering your
We will
questions.
cover the keywords of the back-end phrases in another video. This, we're just trying to help you, like Jenny said, the discovery phase of, is this worth my time to even make a book with?
Right. Okay, and we can talk about probably, I think by the end of this, we'll get to how much, being able to gauge how much profit you're going to make. But the thing is, there's no investment. So you know, you could look for books that tend to be selling for more, activity books that are maybe a little bit more in depth. I don't know, niches that maybe have higher priced books to get more, make more money, but it's all profit. Okay.
Yeah, I play around my prices quite a bit, and there are some books that I push up and make a few dollars on, and there's some books that for whatever reason they will not sell if I bump them up past like $5.25. I'm still making 50 cents on that book. It's not crazy, but if I bump it up more than that, it just doesn't sell. If I lower it, then I sell a few of them a week. So
okay. All right, let's move on. The question about bundling multiple books is a really good one. It's kind of tricky, but it can be done. You can sell them as a collection. You can sell them as a kit. I do recommend, you can't call it a bundle, but they don't want, if Amazon, the way they define bundle and use that term, you cannot have multiple books or multiple media items only. You have to have another type of a item with it for it to fit underneath their bundling guidelines. So it's a little bit tricky, but that doesn't mean, like, you could call it a boxed kit or a set collection, and it ends up being listed a little bit differently. Yeah, you can call it a set. Okay, let's move on. So with bundling, there's two ways you can do it. You can bundle with pre-validated products, which is kind of what I was talking about, where you have another physical product like the food scale. And just super quick, this is not the focus of this at all, but to validate, we've talked about validating your books. If you want to validate a product, this is what we use for proven private label on a super simple front end validation. Okay, it's a 5-step test, and I'm just gonna, this is for private label. Some of these, like the gauge for competition and demand, I think you could try with wholesale on its own. But for private label, we're looking for items that are generic, that aren't brand driven, because we don't want an item. What that means is, how is a customer buying the product? Are they buying it, or why are they buying it? Are they buying it because it's a brand, a certain brand
like
name,
Nike or
Nike, iPhone, so when I need a running shoe, I know I want a Nike shoe, right? That's not a market you really want to get into with private label, because it's going to cost you a lot to compete with them. So for ease of entry, we look for items that are generic, non-brand driven. They might have a brand associated with them, like a Home Basics toilet brush. But why in the world? People, I don't think they really care what kind of toilet brush they have and what the brand is. They're getting it because of the product. And those are the types of things we like to look for easy private label. We're looking for items that are small, because Amazon charges for larger items and we want to keep our costs down. We're looking for items that are simple, that don't have a lot of moving parts associated with them, because they break. And when they break, we get bad reviews. So it doesn't mean you can't do that, but this is just guidelines again. And then we're looking for items that have low competition. We use that reviews test like we do with the 3 R's for books. We look at the reviews column once we type in a term, and we want to see 3 or 4 that have less than 50. It's the same thing we're doing with the 3 R's. Okay, do that again also with your product. Run Jungle Scout, run Scope, and look at that reviews column. First 10 with less than, with 3 or 4 with less than 50 reviews. Okay, and then we want to make sure there's enough demand. And the way we do this for private label is we look at the number of estimated sales per month, not revenue, but the number of units sold. Okay, and we want to make sure there's at least 750. That's how we teach for proven private label. We can dig into this a little bit more at the end maybe, but we're going to move on to the other types of bundling. So that is if you're looking to bundle with a pre-validated product. So you have your validated book with the 3 R's, and then you have a validated product as well. That will help increase your opportunity for success. I'm going to let you take this one while I get the dog out of my room, out of my office. He just opened the door.
So Jenny was saying that you can kind of come at this from 2 different sides. So how Jenny was saying is, if you have the product, then you can start with the product and then attach the book to it. And the way that I'm doing it currently is having the book drive, and I can test the book to make sure that it's actually worth my time going after to even do the private label, because the private label, as fast as I can try to get it, it normally takes me a month from finding the product, getting with the supplier, and then getting it to me, and then getting it out to Amazon. A month is normally like the fastest time that I can get that. With books, I can almost launch the book tonight if I have the idea, because normally with journals, I can just, the same insides that I'm using, I can try and attempt to validate it with that. Or if it is something like I have to put a quote in there or something like that, it's normally pretty easy for me to reach out to a VA and have them do it, and then get it done much quicker and live, and actually being able to run some ads on it to see if it's actually going to have traction. But I want to start with a book that's going to lend itself well to bundling, and I'll be showing some examples. We're doing camping kind of in the private label side right now, because I think Ryan's going to launch some camping gear. So we'll start there, and then I'll show you kind of like, oh, those books are obvious to private label with, or not private label, to bundle with those products because of how they're written. So I want to show you that side of it. And then even if you pick a book that's not very obvious, blatantly obvious, then how do you do some research to then get ideas for that book? So if you start with just camping, or even camping bundles, we'll do camping bundles.
All right. So again, we're looking for what Amazon's gonna.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm showing the book side first. Sorry. So camping cookbooks, I guess, is what we'll start with, because those are very obvious to bundle. So if you type in camping cookbooks and just look at those books, a lot of those books should be very obvious of what you would bundle them with.
Gotcha. I was just looking to see what.
So if you just start scrolling down and looking.
So you're not, are you looking for the 3 R's at this point?
Yes.
Right. So this has less than 3,000 results. And then
so
I want
to validate the book first to see if it's worth my time going after. And then I want to see what type of book I should then create to then lead into a bundle. So camping book, yes, does pass because it's under 3,000.
So 157,000 ranks, so it's less than 1 million. And we have 5 that have listings that have less than 50 reviews. So it passes the results, the rank, and the reviews test for the book. So now we could scroll through and look and see Campfire, that's sponsored. And just get ideas. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, like obviously what would you bundle that with? And as you do this more and more, you're going to run into these where you're looking for a type of book, and then they lend themselves perfectly to a bundle.
Can you guys think of something to bundle this book with right here? Fix It in foil.
And I'm pretty sure that's a CreateSpace book.
I bet you it is.
Oh, no.
Interesting.
But it is selling.
But it could be a CreateSpace. Look at this one, foiled. That's funny. $15 for that one.
What, Jenny, what would you possibly bundle this with? Yeah, foil. Everybody
Christy
said
named it. Foil.
Yeah.
Oh, it does say spiral bound. Thank you, Annie. Yeah. Spiral bound is not CreateSpace. But this one might be. That's not
paperback and Kindle. It says right there.
Oh, yeah, but that you can do that anyway. It has a different publisher. It's not CreateSpace. Yes. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if it's CreateSpace. We're just curious, and you really can't tell. My parents did a really cool cookbook, and it's fat too. It's a really good one. So the bigger cookbooks, you can get a higher price point on them for sure. Okay.
So if you go back, and then we'll look for some more examples, because this is what I'm saying. There's some blatant, obviously obvious ones like that. Foil, home skillet. I think it says
cast iron
right on there. Like clearly, if you write a book and then bundle it with a cast iron, and again, you can either wholesale that or retail arbitrage. Dutch ovens. All those are very, very obvious. And again, why I do this is because I want to validate the book and see if the book is selling. Then it's much easier to put a product with a book that's selling well than to kind of do it how Jenny was explaining, just because of the time. And for me, it's a much easier way to say, okay, for sure this is validated because it is selling, more than looking at all the tools that I trust like 80% of the time. If something sells, I trust it much more than if I validate it with the tool.
Absolutely, because you're looking at other people's listings too, and you don't know, I mean, what if your cover art's better? Because really, honestly, what sells these is looking at the covers.
That's an easy with those
S'mores is a good
more
one. Yep.
extension ones that sell all over the place.
Okay. Campfire treats. Did you see that? So it was all desserts, which I think is cool. You could do a series that way. So this is more iron foiled camping cookbook. I bet you there's one about fish. Lots of foil. Here's the treats one. So I bet, you'd have to look and see, but you could include things that are related to what tools you would use. Is there anywhere else? Do you want me to just keep going through this? Or?
No, I think that's plenty of examples. I mean,
Okay.
I just want to show people that if like the bundling thing, wrapping your head around it, you can come at a lot of different angles. But if you see stuff like this, it's blatantly obvious, then that's easy. But if you don't have that and you go, okay, for sure I want a camping cookbook, and there's no book that kind of lends itself to a actual product, what do I do then? Because this is kind of where I'm always dancing around keywords. So either you can look for camping bundles that are already out there and kind of see the theme of that kind of stuff. So we'll start there as like, say, a 1A of what I do after I find a good book that I want to go after.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry. My family's leaving and I'm telling them.
Just type in camping bundle. Because I just want to see what are people selling to get like theme around it.
Look at this one. That's where I would go. But
well, no, just camping bundle before even ditching down.
Oh, and and just see if that passes by itself.
Well, I just want to see what type of products, like this is going to show me if I'm typing in camping bundle and other people are typing that in, what types of bundles are out there so that, again, I know camping cookbook because I checked it. But if you go the other way, because I was doing a lot of stuff for Ryan, but if you go just camping bundles and you want to see what's out there, you can scroll down because I off the top of my head would say, okay, if I'm going to go camping, I want like a first aid. I can write a first aid kind of book around it. But if you scroll down a little bit and just see what other type of books are in there.
Books?
I mean,
sorry.
Types of products. So tents I wouldn't really do because it's kind of heavy in a lot of things. Lights, electrical.
Carabiners. Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a bit of
lights have moving parts.
Cooking stuff that doesn't have a ton of stuff. Normally when I make bundles, I try not to do more than like 3 things. Some of those bundles have a ton of stuff. But like the cooking camping thing, that's kind of already in my niche. So I would say, okay, I don't necessarily want to have what all that guys had, the fire and the utensils and all that stuff. So, okay, I know that's kind of what I want to go after. So camping and cooking, if I just type in camp cooking and then see what Amazon auto suggests, so I know that there's traffic going there. And then I would, okay, for sure, utensils, that's something that's small that I can definitely bundle with. And I don't have to have all of the utensils. There's probably just 1 or 2 if you click on.
That's interesting. Those are sponsored.
That's a sponsored ad. Yeah, I was going to say that doesn't seem.
Yeah. So this is a big one, but then look at this.
Utensils there again.
Here.
That's definitely stuff I would put with a book because both of those could come in a very small package. They pass this is when I would go and switch from the 3 R's to the 5-step test. Then I would run Jungle Scout on this and just see if it passes. And I do not want to confuse anybody on this, but for me, I try to dual validate the book that I'm going after and the product that I'm going after.
Yep.
So if you want to run Jungle Scout on here for me, Jenny.
Yep. Sorry, I'm
answering questions, and I know
you're
on top of everything.
Yeah. Family, dog coming in.
Reading questions, answering questions. You're typing even way faster than I even type.
Okay. The 5-step test, Nicole's asking about, what was the search term again? Camping utensils?
I believe.
Okay. So camping utensils. Here's the 5-step test for private label validation. Okay. It's small.
Generic.
It's generic. Camping utensils are generic. They're small. There's not many moving parts. Okay. So now we're going to look at reviews. We want to make sure that the reviews, that there's at least in the first 10, there's at least 3 or 4 that have less than 50, just like with how we're validating books. And then you want to look at the number of sales in those first 10, not revenue, the number of sales, number of units sold, and adding them all together. You want it to at least equal 750. Okay.
So this is part of the reason I want to teach using Jungle Scout and Scope, because if you learn how to validate books and you get successful with books, the next thing to put it with products is very easy. Instead of picking, okay, here's a tool that just works for KDP and CreateSpace. Oh, now I want to do the bundle. Now I have to have another tool. You can do all of that research with just Jungle Scout. That's why I said even for merch too, like you can use Jungle Scout for all those things. You just
Or
have to
Scope.
look at the info. Yeah, sorry. Or Scope. You just have to look at the information differently to get what you want out of it. Because if this passes, say, the 3 Rs, and there's not enough sales, you're going to be very hard pressed to make up your money if you're spending a large amount of money to buy bulk utensils, because there's not enough demand. If you're just looking at the 3 Rs. So you want to do a little bit more validation, because you're going to be spending money and a lot more time doing it with the actual product.
Which is leads us into Annie's question. Which one is more important to pass the test to do a bundle, the product or the book? Okay, actually, I read that question differently the first time I read it. Go ahead.
I would say the book, because that's what I'm starting with. I can't validate through tools. I use a lot of tools. I don't trust any of them 100%. But if I launch a book, I want the 3 Rs to pass. I want the book to be tested and that the book sells. Then I feel comfortable bundling that with something. I mean, you can do it the other way, like Jenny was saying, if you pick the product first. And even if you have products that you bought doing RA, that you bought a whole bunch of them, they look great, and then all of a sudden everybody jumps on it and the price tanks, those are perfect opportunities to do what Jenny does. And I think that's how she taught this in the beginning, was to take that inventory, put a book with it, and then have your own separate listing so that you can price it however you want to price it.
Okay, let me just answer this one question.
But I would say if you're going to do a bundle, I would validate both. I would not say one is more important than the other. I just start with the book more than I start with the product, because I want to actually sell something before I then go spend money. At least that's how my business set up right now. It was different a few months ago. I'm positive it will be different in a few months from now. Everything continuously changes if you're playing in Amazon's sandbox. I wish I had control of the...
Sorry. I'm putting this in the chat for everybody, the 5-step test, and I'm typing it out instead of saying it again, because I think you guys can just copy and paste it.
And it is in that slide. So what if you...
Not the details, though. So I didn't put the 750.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
There we go. Okay, so now what?
So I would find, I would look for other products because I just, sorry. If I find a good book, I want more than just one product that I might possibly bundle this with. So I would do the same thing. Instead of utensils, what are other things that I can bundle it with? Just to give myself some more options, because if I get a book and I'm going to spend the time to make the book and the book is successful, I don't want to pigeonhole myself with just one product. Table, I would think, is probably a little too big.
Gear is a little too general.
Broad. What is great? Oh, like an actual, very interesting. Ooh.
Look at that one. I was thinking at first they're probably really heavy, and then when they fold, they might not be too big.
Yeah, this would be a great product too.
Let's see.
Private label.
That would be a great one to do with a cookbook.
Yes.
For camping.
Especially if you had a package to put that grate in, and the book can just slide right into that same.
And look at that price point. Okay, guys, I just want to say there's 2 ways to do this. Stephen's suggesting there's no cost to testing a book other than your cost of sponsored ads, which we'll get to. So you validate with the 3 Rs. This is a little bit advanced. Validate with the 3 Rs, get a book done, get it in there, and use the data that you collect from the book sales to come up with, to test, to determine whether or not it's worth pursuing to create a bundle with. We'll talk about this more in one of the other lessons. Okay, and we'll get in deep when we get into the sponsored ads and how to use that data. Kind of like using the PPI method, okay, with books a little bit. We're gonna gather data, learn more information, learn about it from our book and the keywords that we're using, and then we can determine, are those keywords worth using for a bundle, okay? So that's the method that Stephen's talking about. You can start with a book and validate with a 5-step test, and then add a book to it. Sorry, start with a product, pass it with a 5-step test, add a book to it to increase your perceived value, to increase so that increases your price point, to differentiate yourself more from the competition. You can do it that way too. And we see lots of success of people using that 5-step test to validate products, and then they buy a small quantity, a case of like 12, send them in and do testing and gather keywords that way to determine whether it's worth scaling or how to change things up a little bit, how to optimize your listing, all of that. You can do it either way, okay? The value of doing it with your book is the cost is super low. All you're paying for is the sponsored ads. With the product, you have inventory you have to sell in. So that's why there's so much more, that's why we're kind of leaning more towards the book side. But just so you can do it either way, as long as you're doing the final testing on your actual listing. That's the main thing. Because so up until you having a product on Amazon, up until the point where you have a book that's on there on a listing, or you have a product there, you're looking at these tools, you're looking at other people's listings too. You're looking at their pictures, you're looking at their keywords, you're looking at all of the other data. You really don't know how your items are going to perform until it's your listing, and you're gathering data on that listing. So whether it's a book or a product, that when it's on your own listing, you have a lot more control and you're able to use that data better. So it doesn't really matter. Am I right? It doesn't matter if it's really a book or a product. It's just the benefit of a book is there's less investment up front. However, you can validate with products as well and be fairly certain that you're going to have some sort of success. Those items will sell, but you have more investment up front.
Yeah, if you've done private label and you feel very confident with private label, there's no, I mean, I see some people typing in the chat too. There's no reason why you couldn't launch the book, the bundle, and the product all by all of those things at the same time. There's nothing preventing you from doing that.
Right.
That's why I like working with Jenni so much, because we do our businesses different, but it's essentially the core is almost the same. We just go about it slightly different. So I love doing the books because I can crank out a ton of books, and then it helps me pick what I want to go after that. Jenni might have a great relationship with suppliers. She might already know people that she can get products from and already have a private label that she's already launching. And then the book bundle she's coming at it from, oh, this is already working. I went to RA or a wholesaler, and a lot of people are jumping on my listings. Oh, here's a book that I can add to it, and then increase my value and separate myself from the competition. That's why when I heard that, I was like, that's amazing. I'm going to do that. I started doing that. And then I said, what if I just go the opposite way? What if I start with the book and then run it this way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Only because merch shut down for Christmas and I had a team and artists and everything backing up and people I needed to pay. And I said, we have to do something with this. Let's transfer this directly over to books and start cranking these out. And then I started seeing the power of doing that. And I was like, ooh, I got to tell Jenni, we're onto something here.
Super cool. Okay. So this product was the great, I forget, was it trying to get to, I can't see it. It won't move that over. There, camp cooking grate. Okay. It might be small, or I'm not sure. 18 inches, that's sponsored. So it depends on how they fold up. So we're not sure about that.
Small.
One of them looked kind of small. Small, generic. It's not brand driven. It doesn't really have any moving parts. Now we want to see the reviews. We have 5 that have less than 50, and the sales. Okay, so this is kind of a weird one. So we don't have complete data. I don't know why those are grayed out. It usually says as an I. So the data is a little bit weird. Some of these are really low. This one's pretty much dominating, right? This one's not bad. Let's see what that is. So it does pass. These equal at least 750. It could be worth testing, and maybe that's where you test with a book instead of a product, right? Before you invest anything, you want to use some of these key phrases in your listing for your book to kind of gather some more data. But this would pass the 5-step test for a private label product, and it has really good price point. Okay. Should we go back to the slides? Or do you have more for bundling?
No, I was just going to say you can continue to do that, or like if you're like Jenni and you can just come off the top, what other things would you even think of? Like a pot or something like that to cook with?
I would probably put in like camping and look that way. Camping fork spoon. Camping forks for hot dogs. I probably would go and look for things that are maybe food related that I would put with a recipe book. I might even get ideas for other things, other things to other book ideas, right? First aid kit, camping and hiking. So maybe I put a little first aid book for camping with it, or so that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's where I would go. Camping, maybe put cooking. Start typing it in and see. That's probably brand driven. Camping cookbook, cookware set. See what that is maybe, and then poke around. That's how I would do it. But just kind of play around on Amazon and let it tell you what people are searching for. So you got cast iron, and then you got like the backpacking type. So this is cool.
Yeah, so you're going just a little bit more broad than me, which is I don't know if I would have done that. Just look at them and then just pick them like that. That's why I said like I almost need those keywords to direct me.
Right. So what I would do here is go, okay, this is a folding double wash basin. So then I would start.
And then you would start from there.
Folding, wash, or dishwashing, and just kind of think, how would I search for this? And then see how I'm not typing it all in really fast. I'm looking to see if Amazon's going to suggest anything, and here we go. So then I would click on that and go to Jungle Scout. It's small, it's foldable, it's not many moving parts, and it's generic. So does it have passed the competition in demand? So we look at reviews to see if it's too competitive, and it's still loading, but we want to see those first 10 and make sure there's 3 or 4 that have less than 50, right? Looks like we're going to hit that. But who knows? It can add stuff at the last minute and get me. See? Still looks like we're going to hit it. Then, so we've got 5 that have less than 50, and then we want to look at sales, and we want to make sure that adding the first 10 all up together, total, is at least 750, and that passes there too. So I would take the keyword, I would look for ideas, and then take that keyword and again run it through the 5-step test. So, all right. Let's move on, and then we can come back to questions on this. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Close that. Share my screen again. I'm going to go. Okay. Okay, so we talked about individual books and how to discover. We're looking at just discovery at this point, okay, for this top for today. Then we've talked about bundling and how to discover bundling ideas and opportunities, right? And so now we're going to talk about partnering for just a few minutes. And we're going to go back to one of the slides earlier. Remember the types of people that use these types of books? There are people that are home crafters, that are life coaches, that are business coaches, educators, teachers, preschool teachers, maybe your local mom and pop type of preschool, or a daycare, maybe where they're doing some preschool type worksheets or workbooks, leaders, influencers, small group leaders, self-help, people who are involved in any type of self-help, like tongue twister there. Any of those people, you have a product. It's like with merch, you're better at explaining this. I love how you do it. It's like you have a product here. You want to go to these people and say, hey, you find a life coach, hey, or a therapist, a counselor, maybe, and someone you have a relationship with, or just there's a business building down the street and you go to their office and you say, hey, do you have any type of a journal or a workbook that you put your clients through? What about having your own? Because maybe they're using somebody else's, where they're just like maybe they want them to have a gratitude journal, or maybe a business coach, and there's certain things that they have them log every day. What are the things I'm going to be doing today? What are my 6-month goals? Stuff like that. They can provide you the content. You can put together a book for them, and you're partnering with them. They are the gatekeeper. You are the one bringing in the content, okay? And you can provide that for them for free. It's branding for them. You can split profits, but you could provide it for them for free as a service. Now they have a published book in their name for their brand, or however you want to work that out. on Amazon, and you can set the price point and you get paid from the sales. Okay, so that's one way to do it. You could split profits. Lots of ways to be able to get some momentum too with your sales. So if you make it generic enough, where like maybe one of the books that we did, it was a mileage log. I don't know if this makes sense, but what came to my mind, I've got 2 kids that are learning to drive. And I'm thinking they need to be logging their mileage. Maybe a driver's ed teacher has a need for something like that. And you make it generic enough so that, you have some sort of partnership with them, but so you get organic sales, as well as they are now pointing people to, that's probably a bad example. I can't imagine them having a lot of sales for that, but you get the idea.
That's a lot of what we talk about is like juicing the listing. Because
Right.
books are not super competitive, it only takes a few sales to really boost yourself in different, we call them landing sales, but gaps in the market. So, the example that we kind of use is going to nonprofits, but even a local church group that I have, we do men's meeting, and they use a journal. And I just went to them and said, hey, would you want a journal specific to you guys? We can have the sayings of whatever we're going to go through, and then make it generic enough to where anybody wants a Christian journal or a Christian log will also buy it, because the imagery that's on there is eye-catchy. And then when they open it, just like the gratitude one, they just see sayings in there. To them, it's just an empowering thing. But for us, it meant a lot more because it's what we were actually going through. So it had a deeper meaning for us, but it was generic enough that we could juice the listing and sell it to anybody that wanted that book.
Excellent. That's really it for partnering. It's so simple. It's so simple. So basically what you've learned today, you now have more information to be successful with creating a book, and we'll teach you how to create it, actually get the work done next week. But you know how to kind of come up with some keywords and key phrases to see if it's even going to be profitable and worth pursuing. And so now you are equipped to go up to these people who are gatekeepers, these people who have audiences, and offer this type of a service to them and get paid for it. That's pretty sweet. You can set up the profit share however you want to. That's really what I would say. So, okay.
Working the deals are going to be different for everybody. Some people are very good salesmen. I personally, me and Athena, do like a slower sale. We like to know people that we have some type of relationship with. We don't try to get married on the first date, and we try to work the deal. So if it is something that we're going to be doing for free and split 50-50 on the back end, or if it's a new client that we've gone out to this business, we have some kind of deal that we can set up with them, we can charge them an upfront fee and then maybe charge a lower back-end fee. And it all just depends on how much work you're going to be providing, how much work they're going to be providing. So the deal structuring of it is going to be different every time. There's no script that I can give people, because it's going to be up to you and your personality of going and talking to those people. But the deals are infinite, however you want to make it work. And I would suggest, if it's the first deal you're going to do it so that you understand what it's, don't do it at a loss, but even if you're doing it at a cost, you'll learn so much from doing the deal and getting the deal done that you go, oh, okay, now I understand.
Yep.
If I do this and it sells this much, I need to make it a little bit more generic so that it did get to number one where I wanted to get number one, but it didn't have any additional legs because the people that bought it for the client, nobody else bought it. So I need to figure out a way to how to make this generic enough. There's, a lot to learn, a lot to test, but with books,
cheap
there's
training.
a lot of ways, yes, to launch them, and it does not cost any upfront money.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. So, whoops, I'm on the wrong. There we go. That's it for today. There's so many questions. I think we probably just opened up the can of worms or the floodgates to all these other questions, but I want to draw your attention to this, because next week we're going to talk about the internal pages. We're going to talk about your cover, and we're going to talk about outsourcing all of that to get the work done. Okay, we're going to take what we've learned today, and we're going to go, okay, now that we have a book idea, let's create a book, and let's talk about what that can look like and how easy that is. It really is simple. And then, of course, we're going to go into submitting your book and setting up ads, and then troubleshooting, sifting through the data that you're collecting and repeating that, okay? So this is just setting the foundation. You guys had some amazing questions, and I want to make sure we're answering all of them, but I do know that some of them require a little bit more of an in-depth answer, which is why we've dedicated a whole session on setting up the ads and submitting them. Those are great, great questions. I don't want you to feel like we're not answering them, but more information is to come. Are there any other questions about what we talked about? This is recorded. I will get the link out to you within the next 24 to 48 hours, okay? I would expect probably 48. It takes a little while for it to whatever it does. What does it do? To do its thing, to be ready for me to send it out. So yeah, it will be recorded. Hopefully, what I love about teaching this stuff is, and it was fun last night, we were on with Joy Packard, and just like, even she hadn't heard this stuff, and just seeing these light bulbs go on, and to see people go, oh, I totally thought I had to write a book, like write a book. And you don't have to. You can have literally you just need something on the page. I want you to think about this. We'll leave this. What I wanted you to do for homework is do what we've been doing here. Go through and get keywords, key phrases for book ideas. Come up with some ideas that pass the 3 R's, okay? Come up with a list for yourself for next week, all right? Now, I want to share this. This is kind of hopefully blow your mind a little bit more. Most journals, if you go into a bookstore, okay, I mentioned this on the webinar we did before. I took Stephen and Ryan Rieger to Barnes & Noble last October. We were in LA at a conference that we were speaking at together. And I took them one night. We were dead tired. I said, you guys, we've got to go to Barnes & Noble. I have to show you how easy this is, what I'm trying to teach people, and to show the opportunity here.
And how easy it was. Because I had that initial knee-jerk reaction when you said write a book. I was like, I'm not writing a book. Like,
who in the world wants to
I dropped out of high school. There's no way
kind of person
I could barely put a sentence together. There's no way I would be writing books. And then when you took me, I was like, my mind exploded. I was like, oh yeah, I can definitely do this.
I know. I need to go and do a video walkthrough at Barnes & Noble. I have like this mental fear block of, I don't know why that creeps me out to go and do that there.
Maybe at CES we'll find a book and me and you'll do it together.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking we're going to be in LA too in a couple of weeks. I might do that with my daughter and whoever else wants to come. But go to Barnes & Noble. You can do this field trip on your own. Go to Barnes & Noble. Go to the self-help and the activity and the humor sections. Go to the journal section and the gift books section, and look differently at those books. Look at what you will see, things like quotes, movie quotes, or famous last line books, famous pickup lines, or like 100 pickup lines for dating, facts, everything you wanted to know or didn't want to know about cats. I mean, these are all books that you can create. And then we talked about activity. You guys came up with awesome ideas in the chat. So go to Barnes & Noble, go to whatever local bookstore that's kind of big, and poke around a little bit, even going and hitting those bargain aisles. There's so many ideas there. Some of them are kits. There's like a knot tying book, and it's boxed with a piece of rope. Super easy. Cookbooks, look niche when you're looking at cookbooks. Think about what could I bundle this with. So go, if you have time to do that this week, that will absolutely explode your mind. And then, but for sure, make sure you take some time just going through this. Take 15 minutes even. Come up with some search terms in Amazon. Let it suggest for you. Like type workbook for, journal for, diary for, do it yourself, or activity book, and then put the cursor in front. See what Amazon has, and then run those 3 R's, that test. Look at the results, the rank, and your reviews. Okay, and start making a list. That's your homework for next week. If you would like to save the chat for this, I'm going to tell you how to do that, okay? You're going to go to it has the chat, and then it has that little more pull-down menu. Can you guys see that? If you click on that, there's an option to save chat, and that will save it on your computer, and then you'll have the chat. I'm not sure not sure that it saves it with the recording for the video. So make sure you do that. Awesome idea to go get some people together, anyone in Houston that want to go down to the bookstore. We were there for about an hour. We came up with over 50 ideas. When you guys go to the Facebook community, the Facebook group, about every week I post one of those ideas that we found.
Yeah, there's a hand in the picture. I apologize, it's my hand. I didn't know
mine
Jenni
too. Yeah, she had to hold it open. Anyway, I think that we got it all. Nicole, you're in LA. Cool. Yeah, we're going to be down there in a few weeks. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to let you guys connect. And I'm going to stop my share. Thank you so much for joining us. We have, we're committed to you guys for an hour and a half. We'll be on next week, right? Same link. So 7:00 Central, but I've blocked off 2 hours. So we definitely want to make sure we get to your questions and everything. And if we need to take the time to do that, that's blocked off to be able to do that. So save the chat one more time. We are good. All right. Okay. No other questions. Post them in that Facebook group if you want to. And that link was earlier in the chat. So we'll see you in there, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Stephen. Awesome
Thank you,
job.
Jenny. I had a blast. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
All right.